Our chalice lighting this morning is by Maya Angelou. Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. We light our chalice in honor of that love.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. Our church is built on land that's the traditional territory of the indigenous Iowa people. As always, whenever you hear a land acknowledgement, please consider giving at least $1 to programs and services created by or supporting local indigenous people. We ask that everyone be kind and keep your mics muted throughout the service. This is a brief reading from Extremist of Justice by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and we're talking about Dr. King today. He wrote, "The ultimate weakness of violence is that it's a descending spiral, begetting the very thing it seeks to destroy. Instead of diminishing evil, it multiplies it. Through violence, you may murder the liar, but you cannot murder the lie or establish truth. Through violence, you murder the hater, but you don't murder hate. In fact, violence merely increases hate. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness alone cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The question is not whether we will be extremist, but what kind of extremist we will be. Will we be extremist for hate or for love? Will we be extremist for the preservation of injustice or for the preservation of justice? The great question. So come and let us walk in light and love and justice, and let us celebrate here together.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. I'm Bill Brock. My pronouns are he, him, and his. Thank you for joining us. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for something more love, more joy, more freedom, more service, more learning. Whether it's your first time in service with us or you've lost count, we hope that you'll find here questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in loving radically, serving justly, and growing spiritually and emotionally. Our gathering song this morning is number 169, "We Shall Overcome." The song is a gospel song, which became a protest song and a key anthem of the civil rights movement. The words are on the screen. Please keep your mics muted and simply sing along at home if you would like.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall all be free someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall live in peace someday.
Thank you, Barb and Bruce. That was lovely. We're talking today about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and that's a big, long name if you haven't heard it, because maybe you're a little person. He was named after his dad. His dad was Martin Luther King Sr. So who was this man that we're talking about today? Well, he was a civil rights activist, and that's a big mouthful too. What that means is he wanted the world to be better for all of us. And he said something really important. He said it's important not to use violence and hatred to try to make the world a better place. You can't make the world a better place by beating people up or tearing them down. You have to help build everybody up. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., well, he was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1929. And in the South, in Atlanta, Georgia in 1929, it wasn't easy to be a Black person. You didn't have a lot of the same rights as everybody else. You didn't get to do all the things that white people did, and people weren't always very nice to you. So Martin went to college and he got married, but then he got involved in civil rights, making sure people had their rights. And how did that happen? Well, a Black woman named Rosa Parks got on the bus one night after work, and she sat down in a seat, and a white man got on the bus and he said, "I want your seat. You're Black, you should sit in the back." And Rosa Parks was really brave, and she said, "No, I'm not moving." And so white police officers arrested her and they took her to jail, and she was in jail for about a day and a half. And when she got out, she talked to Martin Luther King. And Martin said, "Oh no, we're going to fix this." So he organized everybody he could find to say, "We won't ride any buses until you stop picking on Black people and let them sit where they want, just like white people." This was called the Montgomery Bus Boycott. Nobody nice rode the bus in Montgomery for months and months, but they won. And at the end, Black people and white people could ride the bus together. Dr. King worked hard for his whole life to make sure that whoever you were, that you could do things just like everybody else. One of the best known speeches he wrote is called "I Have a Dream." And he told the whole world that my best dream is that everybody gets to do things together, that everybody can be friends with each other. Sadly, Dr. King was shot in 1968. But even though he died, all the work he did kept on going. And we still do part of that work today. And you can do part of that work. So thank you for listening to my words. I'm going to transition from the wonder that is Dr. King to the wonder of our offering. And I'm going to do it with my normal gravity and seriousness. A burglar broke into a house one night and he shone his flashlight around looking for valuables. And he picked up a laptop and shoved it into his bag. And he heard a disembodied voice out in the darkness say, "Give it up. Jesus is watching you." Well, he freaked out and he shone his light all over looking for the voice. And finally, in the corner of the room, he saw a parrot. "Did you say that?" he said to the parrot. "Yep," the parrot said. "Just trying to warn you." The burglar relaxed. "Warn me? What kind of a what? Who in the world are you?" "Moses," said the bird. "Moses," the burglar laughed. "What kind of people would name their bird Moses?" "Well," the bird said, "the same kind that would name their pit bull Jesus." I say to you now in all sincerity, give it up. Jesus is watching you. The morning offering will now be given and received through a link in the chat. One half of our plate goes to all our internal social justice work, and one half to our faith and action partners, Knock and Drop and Just Voices. So if you give me just a second, I'll put that link up. Thank you, Bruce, and thank each and every one of you for everything you do for this community. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words were all about being one people. And with that in mind, today's meditational words are from One Today by Richard Blanco. The meditation's part of a longer poem, and that was read at the inauguration of Barack Obama. So this is from One Today by Richard Blanco. My face, your face, millions of faces in morning's mirrors, each one yawning to life, crescendoing into our day, pencil yellow school buses, the rhythm of traffic lights, fruit stands, apples, limes, and oranges arrayed like rainbows, begging our praise, silver trucks, heavy with oil or paper, bricks or milk teeming over highways alongside us on our way to clean tables and read ledgers or save lives, to teach geometry or ring up groceries as my mother did for 20 years, so I could write this poem. All of us as vital as the one light we move through. The same light on blackboards with lessons for the day, equations to solve, history to question, or atoms imagined. The I have a dream, we keep dreaming, or the impossible vocabulary of sorrow that won't explain the empty desks of 20 children marked absent today and forever. Many prayers, but one light, breathing color into stained glass windows, life onto the faces of bronze statues, warmth onto the steps of our museums and park benches, as mothers watch children slide into the day. One ground, our ground, rooting us to every stalk of corn, every head of wheat sown by sweat and hands, hands gleaning coal or planting windmills in deserts and hilltops that keep us warm, hands digging trenches, routing pipes and cables, hands as worn as my father's, cutting sugarcane so my brother and I could have books and shoes. With these words about oneness, please join me in one moment of silence, 1 minute, thinking about these words. I believe we're going to have a spotlight now from the kitchen committee. If I have someone from the kitchen committee that wanted to speak, feel free to unmute.
Hi, this is Louise Alcorn. I believe they had asked me to speak. It's funny, I don't think people realize how long I've been at the church. I've actually been there since I was 15 years old in the senior high group. I have a lot of memories of that kitchen, both good and bad. And one of them is that, and I apologize, I'm not, I don't know my video on, my video is not working. We spent a lot of time in that kitchen, hanging out, talking, sharing. But even then, and this is in 1985, there were a lot of limitations to that room. And even at that time, we realized that it was very dated and needed some help. And yet, like kitchens in everybody's home, it was the heart of the church. We went there to nourish ourselves. We went there to gossip. We went there to share stories. We went there to have fun. I have since been doing hospitality for many, many years and have served a lot of food out of there. So I wanted to bring to your attention the fact that toward the end of the month, we are going to be having some additional discussions about the kitchen. And I would like you to remember that it is, in many ways, the heart of the building, and the heart needs a little help. So if you can remember, if you've been at the church a while and you can remember some of the silly things that you have done in and around the church, and especially in that kitchen, do listen to the various people who are going to be talking about the kitchen renovations over the next few weeks, and do give them your attention. Again, I'm Louise Alcorn, and I've been at the church since 1985. So, and the kitchen, by the way, has not changed since I've been there. So thank you very much, and I'll go back to Reverend Amy.
Thanks, Louise. And please remember, Louise may have been here since 1984. The kitchen's been here a heck of a lot longer. So please come to the meeting. Please come and talk about this. And please, if you're able, donate to the kitchen project. The kitchen is the heart of our building. It's the place where we come together to eat and to talk, to share a cup of coffee or a cookie. Because we're not about just the building. We're not about just the Sunday service. We're about all of it. We're a community. We're a community who talks together and learns together and eats and drinks together. We're a community of human hands and human hearts that share our laughter and our tears. We bear witness to one another. We minister to one another as we struggle with life's sorrows and we celebrate life's joys. I ask that you hold in your thoughts and prayers this week Pat Winters, whose sister has died from colon cancer. She was 2 years older than Pat. She lived in South Carolina, and Pat is doing very well, actually, and has asked that there not be phone calls, but has said that she would welcome cards. So I am putting her home address here in the chat. We have a joy to share today. We get to play and sing happy birthday to Lydia Peterson and to wish her a very, very happy belated birthday. Bruce, if you would.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lydia. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Lydia. I ask now that we share the names of anyone we know who could use special care, love, and attention this week. Please type their names into the chat so that the love of our community can hold them this week. Jean says it's Mike Lauer's birthday today too. Happy birthday, Mike. Congratulations. Happy birthday. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May the work of our hands and our hearts support and aid and comfort all those who hunger or thirst for food or water, justice or freedom. May we never look away when we're needed. May those who are grieving be comforted. May those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed. And may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant. Every week we light 3 real or virtual candles. We light them together as a community. One is for the joys and sorrows shared here. One is for the names we've written or spoken. And one last candle is for all the joys and all of the sorrows which are held deeply in our hearts but remain unspoken here today.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
Our first reading today is from Don't Sleep Through the Revolution by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is from his 1966 Ware Lecture to the UUA General Assembly. Through our scientific genius, we have made of this world a neighborhood. And now, through our moral and ethical commitment, we must make it a brotherhood. We must live together as brothers, or we will all perish together as fools. This is a fact of life. No individual can live alone. No nation can live alone. All I'm saying is this, that all life is interrelated, and somehow we are all tied together. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of all reality. John Donne caught it years ago and placed it in graphic terms. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. He goes on to say, any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. This realization is absolutely necessary if we are to remain awake in this revolution. Lift Every Voice and Sing, hymn number 351 in the Baptist hymnal, was written in 1900 and first performed at a celebration of Abraham Lincoln's birthday, a prayer of thanksgiving for faithfulness and freedom. The song quickly earned the nickname the Black National Anthem, and over the years, it became one of the most cherished songs of the civil rights movement. This is Lift Every Voice and Sing, performed by Alicia Keys with narration by Anthony Mackie. Our second reading today is also from Don't Sleep Through the Revolution by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today's arguments are generally placed on subtle cultural grounds. For instance, the Negro is not culturally ready for integration. If you integrate the schools and other areas of life, this will pull the race back a generation. And another, the Negro is a criminal. You see, he has the highest crime rate in any city. So the arguments go on ad infinitum. Those who use these arguments never say that if there are lagging standards in the Negro community, and there certainly are, they lag because of segregation and discrimination. They never go on to say that criminal responses are environmental and not racial. Poverty, ignorance, economic deprivation, social isolation breed crime in any racial group. It's a tortuous logic to use the tragic results of segregation as an argument for the continuation of it. It is necessary to go to the causal root to deal with the problem. So it is necessary for the church, through all of its channels of education and through all of its work, to guide the popular mind and rid the community of the notion of superior and inferior races. We've all seen enough to refute this idea. We've seen Negroes who have given inspiring examples of ability to rise above the shackles of a difficult environment. Skin may differ, but affection dwells in black and white the same. If I were so tall as to reach the pole or to grasp the ocean at a span, I must still be measured by my soul. The mind is the standard of the man. Our centering song today is number 156, "O Freedom," an American slave song that continued to be used throughout the civil rights movement. The words will be on the screen. Please keep your mics muted.
Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. Oh, I would be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free. No more mourning, no more mourning, no more mourning over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free. There'll be singing. They'll be singing over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free.
August 28th, 1963, from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, the defining moment of the civil rights movement. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. began to speak. It was hot and sweat stood out on his forehead. He raised his voice at the mic to be heard by over 250,000 civil rights supporters. As he neared the end of his speech, vocalist Mahalia Jackson called out in her beautiful voice, "Tell them about the dream, Martin." And he hesitated for no more than a second. And then he put his prepared notes to the side and went off script. "I have a dream today," he said. "I have a dream that one day every valley will be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain and the crooked places made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. With this faith, we'll be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together. knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died. Land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside let freedom ring. That huge crowd hung on every word that came out of his mouth. If only we could speak to him today. Dear Dr. King, when you spoke at the UUA's General Assembly in Hollywood, Florida in 1966, wow, you never could have imagined what the world would look like 55 years later. We're poised on the brink of revolution. We're in another period of immense social change. Our nation is torn and struggling. Black people die in the streets, Dr. King. They die in the streets, killed by police officers, killed by other Black people, killed by white people, killed by vigilantes frightened by their Black skin. Black women are arrested for failing to signal. Black children die for playing with a toy gun in a public park. Traitors to the promise of our great nation stormed our capital a little over a year ago in an effort to undermine and destroy our democracy. But time for revolution is on us, Dr. King. And this time, we're not asleep at the wheel. Dr. King, you spoke from the depths of a Christianity which called you to liberalism, but it called you to more. It called you beyond liberalism. It called you to liberation. And those words still call us today. You called us to go back to Mississippi and go back to Alabama, go back to South Carolina, go back to Georgia, go back to Louisiana, go back to the slums and ghettos of the northern cities, knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. That was your dream. That was your dream. And as Unitarian Universalist, we are called by a voice that will not let us discard the dream. A voice that speaks as loudly and as surely as a burning bush in the desert. We are called to liberation. There was a march in Washington in 2016, about a week before the presidential inauguration. It was led by activists of all colors, all wreathed in anger and pain at the incoming administration's remarks about Muslims and minority groups and women and Mexicans. 2,000 people gathered in the National Mall. They stood at your memorial, Dr. King. They were only a few miles from where the presidential inauguration would happen. And Cornell William Brooks, president and chief executive of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, he spoke to the marchers. And he said at last, "We will march until hell freezes over. And when it does, we will march on the ice. As long as one person remains a slave to a system built on racism, colonialism, and oppression, we are called to march. We'll march until hell freezes over, and then we'll march on ice. We will march for liberation. We will march for equality. We will march for justice. And we will march for saving grace for every human being. Dear Dr. King, we've been trying for 55 years to learn the simple art of loving our neighbors as ourselves and respecting the worth of all human persons, and we still don't have it right. But we are not giving up the fight. We have only started, and we are in it to win it. Because we know when 50 people are packed together at one end of a small boat, they'll fight and kill one another for breathing room. We've seen the struggle and the pain as people of color cried out over and over, and white people began to realize at last that their end of the boat is going to sink too. It's all one boat. It's all our boat. And we will keep trying because we cannot go back to sleep. We will keep trying because slavery for one is slavery for all. And we know we are not islands. We are called by the demands of our faith to work for freedom. Dear Dr. King, your dream is alive and well today in the hands of Black Lives Matter activists. It's alive in Unitarian Universalists across this country. It's alive in high school students who refuse to learn hate, and in children who don't even understand how hate could be. It's alive in politicians and college students, in young people growing up in our cities. It's alive in each person, each hill and valley of the United States. It's alive in every one of us who says not, "Make America great again," but instead, "Let us make America great for the first time together." The dream you saw is alive in each of us who answers the call of our faith and stands up for liberation. It's alive in each one who refuses to go back to sleep. It's past time to wake up and start fighting. It's time to fight for a world in which Black people can dare to dream, not of being respected for acting just like white people, but of being respected while Black. It's a time to fight for their right to be respected while wearing natural hairstyles, while clothing themselves in clothing they choose. It's a time for Black and brown people to be free of racial profiling. It's a time to destroy the school to prison pipeline, to end slavery in the guise of private prisons. It's time for Iowa to stop incarcerating Black people at a rate that is 7.5 times that of the incarceration rate for white people. Black people make up 4% of the Iowa population and 25% of the Iowa prison population. It's time to recognize that Black lives don't matter also. They matter, period. Black doesn't need to be judged in terms of white. Black culture and lives need to be recognized on their own merit. And we can win this fight together, starting here and now. You don't have to take on the world. Take on your own family. Take on your friends. Take on the shops where you shop and the places where you work. We have a dream of true equality, a dream of choice, a dream of recognition of all people. Help to make it safe for Black people to be Black people, not imitation white people. Use your privilege, vote, make your voice heard, never shut up. Let the dream wake up and become the reality we know. We are entering a time when we are called to bravery and resilience and resistance and solidarity. We must stand beside our siblings in love and trust that together, only together, we will find our way home. Change is going to come only if we dare to demand it, if we keep walking and marching. And I say to you now, as long as one person remains a slave to a system built on racism and colonialism and oppression, we are called to march. And we will march until hell freezes over, and then we will march on the ice. Amen.
We extinguish the light of our simple flame and carrying the roaring fire of our commitment to change out into the world. Our final song today is Dr. King's favorite gospel song, number 205, Amazing Grace, verses 1 through 3. We sing it not to proclaim that the words and theology resonate for us, but to honor what they meant to him. The words will be on the screen. Please keep your mics muted and sing along at home if you would like.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home.
Walk in peace, fight for justice, live in hope. Peace, ashe, and may it be so.